Okay, I think we can get started now. Hi everyone, welcome to our fireside chat, Data Science Journey. Thank you so much for being here with us. This event is actually brought to you by PyData, Sondr, and also Malaysian Homemade. So I'll just give you a few time to sort of introduce the organizer. So PyData is an educational program of NonFocus, a non-profit organization in the US. PyData provides a forum for the international community of users and developers of data analysis tool to share ideas and learn from each other. So Sondr is a community where people come together and learn and get inspired and connect with each other. So we do that by hosting events and also webinars like this. Malaysian Homemade is a community for Malaysian creators to come together, seek help, share resources, and also connect with each other. And together we bring to you this fireside chat. So thank you so much again for being here with us. Before we really begin with the fireside side chat with the panel, just a little bit of housekeeping. If you could kindly mute your mic. If you have any questions at all, feel free to, we have a chat panel, a Q&A, and we will attend to those. We'll leave about 30 minutes towards the end for Q&A. And we would really appreciate your feedback, after this session so we can really improve. And also remember to do a bit of social distancing, while you're at it. And remember to have fun, and we hope you learn by osmosis through this panel, this really cool panel that we brought together. I'm going to hand it over to Jethro to really moderate the session. So over to you, Jethro.
Hi, thank you, Eva. So I'm Jethro. So let's begin with the theme of the day, data science as a career. So the first guest we have, the first panelist we have today is KHAIRUL NAZRAN. Hi, Naz. So I'll pass the mic to you for you to actually introduce yourself. Why do you choose data science as a career and the journey, and any proud moments you have all along this journey? Back to you, Naz.
All right. Hi everyone. Let's get to it. So before I start, this is something that I have to do. So just a disclaimer, all views expressed are my own and do not represent the organization I'm in whatsoever. Do not constitute my views and opinions, legal or financial advice of any kind. And due to the nature of my work and my workplace, I cannot divulge to certain details, and I wish to have that stance respected. Now, next. With that out of the way, hi, my name is Nas. So I work in the data science unit for a financial regulator for the past 3 years. I am currently a data engineer there. I am an avid hackathonner and kind of tinker with web dev and mobile dev for my free times. Sometimes I do like to find tech terms in Malay for fun, giggles and appreciation. So like a good example of this is, like people hype about big data and stuff like that. So you would thought big data in Malay is data besar, but actually it's data raya. So that's actually a fun fact for all of you. So aside from data, aside from hackathons, my other obsession includes GFriend and also currently learning the guitar. Next. So I guess I can just share with you, all of you, how I kind of started the journey. So I went to the University of Michigan in the US to at first study economics. So I was sent there as part of a scholarship program, study economics. Then halfway through, I took my first coding class, and I was just fell in love with it. And I decided to also take computer science as a non-major, and graduated with both economics and computer science as my major. Next slide. So my journey in data science was basically like this. It's just hit first after graduation. I have to come back to my sponsor to serve my bond, and the timing was right. The data science unit was about to be formed, and they were looking for someone who can, know a bit of econ, but can also code. And they were like, hey, do you want to join this data science team? Like, it's new. We only have 2 other people. And I just say, yeah, sure, why not? So it was just jump straight in into this role and this profession. Next slide. Yep. So throughout my experience, I joined the initial data science unit. There was only 3 of us yeah, inside. And kind of like through my 3 years, what we have to do was that to kind of like set up the foundation of data science in the organization. So right now, as of like today, we expanded from 3 members to 9 members. Have delivered a bunch of like very cool, interesting projects, and even myself, I grew. So rather than just like this data science role, a bit of here and everything, I decided to like pivoted and kind of focus more on like a data engineering centric role. Yeah, next. But yeah, very quick takes because I also do not want to take time from the other speakers. So very quick take just to kind of like set the tone or like some of my opinions on data science. I have 4. So 1, data science is very broad. You have your data analyst, data scientist, data engineer, you have your data magician, analytics practitioner, data communicator, and the list goes on. So there's an entire spectrum of roles within data science, and it's very important for you to find your place in it. Never underestimate the value of a very well-crafted dashboard or simple analysis. Not everything needs to be a Keras like model or a TensorFlow model. Sometimes a simple descriptive statistics of describing the business or what's happening can provide a lot of value. And yeah, find your community. And yes, it's data science. It can be dry, but honestly, you can have fun with it. So have fun while you're in the journey. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Naz. That's a very passionate introduction you have there. So let's move on to our next panelist, Ms. Lali. Would you mind to introduce yourself and to like how do you get into data science? A bit of a description about your journey and what was your proud moment?
Yeah, actually, good evening, everyone. So my name is Lale, and I can say I started my journey in computer science in 2013, but I was always passionate about problem solving. So that was the love for problem solving that just bring me from doing a bachelor degree from pure mathematics to master degree again in pure mathematics and then MBA after that. So it was all the background, it was all related to problem solving and know more about business problems and try to solve all of them. So that I was always passionate about that. I can say, I don't know if it was destiny, it was whatever it was, just in 2013, I started a graduate program in computer science in Southern Illinois University in the United States. At the beginning, I was supposed to study cybersecurity, but after a while, I had my first course in machine learning. I had no idea about data analytics and all of that. But when I just learned about machine learning and soft computing, I was just saying, wow, that's what it should be, that just get together all the background they'll have. This is the best place. And this is the new tool. I see, data science as a new tool, new knowledge to just apply in solving many interesting problems. So yeah, I found out about that one and I switched to data science and I did my master thesis in social network analysis, basically Facebook analysis. Then after that, I joined a company in the United States. We were doing software development and application development in both healthcare and social network analysis. I know they are different, but that's it. That's what we were doing. So yeah, after a while, I went back to Iran, and then this company, CAS in Malaysia, found me on LinkedIn in May 2018 and just say, hey, it seems that this is a good match with this position is a good match with your background because I have been math instructor and research mentor before. So yeah, I accepted that one, and currently basically what I'm doing is training and mentoring fresh grads or employees, upskill them and teach them statistical analysis, machine learning, and all of these to use data science in their work and in the future. So it is interesting for me because basically when they learn about data science, I feel that some part of this experience that I had before just go with them in the future and help them. So that's the kind of good feeling that I have about what I'm doing. That's it.
Thank you so much, Lily. That's very nice. And a few of our attendees here, they also shout out that they are the CAT students here. So you may want to interact with them a bit. Thank you so much, Ali. So our next panelist, Miss Yvonne. So Miss Yvonne, could you introduce yourself? How do you get into this career and the journey itself? And what was the problem of it? Mike, I'll give the mic to you. Yeah.
Oh, wait, to the previous one first. So hi, everyone. Thanks for taking your time out to join us tonight to listen to our stories. I'm Yvonne. I'm a data analyst from Fave. Fave is a customer loyalty platform. So I've been with Fave for almost 3 years, worn many, many hats, ranging from anything that needs to be done, from a data consultant to data scientist to recently even meddling in data engineering. So one of my proudest project is something called Kafka project. We call it Kafka project, whereby we use Kafka to stream in real-time data and transform them immediately. Okay, next slide. The next. And the next. Yeah, so originally, the data lag was 36 hours, and it took too long for the management to make decision from there. And so that's why we revamped the whole database to make it real time, where you have access to data under 8 minutes, like something that happened 8 minutes ago, you know what happened already, and snap, you can make a decision right there. And if you want to know more how we did it, you can check out the Medium on how we did it. So that is one of my proudest moments. But how did it all begin? How I got into data science path was, I think, by luck, in a way. I was going to graduate. I was going to look for a job, and I asked my cousin, what should I do with a business mathematics background, where I have statistics, finance, investment, actuarial science, and business marketing knowledge. What can I do? He said, why not try data analytics? It's the next big thing in town. And so that's where I was asking around. And then during my part-time job in semester break, the boss actually recommended me and directly sent my CV to MoneyLion. And that's how I landed an internship there. Really, that is my first break. And from the internship in MoneyLion, that was where I was exposed to data science. I got to know, I picked up R from there. And from there, I got curious, like, what is data science? What can we do more about it? And I started Googling at the same time. My friends wanted to continue pursuing master's degree. And that was where we signed up for master's in data science in University Malaya. And from there, while I was waiting for school to start, I got bored. So I took up another internship at Fave. That's how I ended up in Fave. Originally it was internship, but at the time where school was going to start, I was on the fork road to decide, do I continue full-time study or I work and study at the same time? And this is where, like Naz's photo, right? I just took a leap of faith. I continue working and studying at the same time. For anyone, if any one of you is going to do that, work and study at the same time, I can be honest with you, it's not easy, but it's very rewarding. When you go to class, you will find it easier to relate in class, and you might learn a few things in class and apply it directly into your work, and that's the value it brings. And in Faith itself, it was where I first picked up SQL and Python, and of course, my business sense from there. And it's been 3 years since. Back then, it was more BI, business intelligence centric, but now we've built the foundation ground up, and now it's more data science centric. And I'm very, very, very proud to be part of this team. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the very, very encouraging introduction you have that. And I believe that we are also proud of you for your achievement in faith. So let's move on to our next panelist. Hi, Dr. Vinod. Could you actually share about why did you choose this career and how do you get into it, the journey, and your proud moment. Thank you.
Okay, so hi everyone. I'm Vinod, currently a risk data scientist at CIMB. And for me, the journey to data science was a lot of it by accident. Uh, Somehow I feel that, life has a way of kind of like falling into place for you. So my background was I started with a degree in maths. Um, Not that I wanted to do a degree in maths, but more like, people said, do this, I did that. And then after my degree, maths is a jack of all trades degree. You can practically do anything, but it's not specialized enough for you to kind of focus in. So I was in my final semester, my final year project supervisor basically told me like, hey, I think you might be cut out for research. Do you want to apply for a postgraduate program? So not knowing where I wanted to work, I said, hell yeah. I signed up for a PhD and I started the PhD as a fast track or junior fast track student. So imagine you're doing research with people who usually have a master's. They've got a more established research background. I was young. I didn't know what exactly I was doing. So the first couple of years was a lot of learning. Um, I think I also learned that towards the middle, time management is very important because I spent most of my time not doing my work. Instead, I'd be fooling around with people from other departments. I used to hang out with my friends from the electrical engineering team. I used to hang out with people from the education side. And a lot of the discussions that we had actually factored into my final project. So my final project was actually working on high dimensional data, and I was using genetic algorithms for that. A lot of that I picked up from the people that I used to chat with. So after an extended PhD program, I joined a local university here in Malaysia to start teaching. I was at Help University in Damansara. Heads up if any of you guys are actually from Help. Now, at Help, I've started teaching maths and stats, mainly to business students, those who are going for courses in economics, marketing, those kind of things. And at the same time, I think about the second year or third year that I was teaching there, I actually started a small company with a friend of mine who coincidentally a few years earlier when I was doing my PhD, I actually met him playing video games online. So he had started a company doing digital marketing and he wanted to expand it into what we call an ideation company. So the plan here was that, people would come in, they have an idea, but they don't know how to execute it. So we try and help them with that. And a lot of it had to do with either streaming services or, microsite platforms that they wanted to set up. So I started the analytics division for that with him. We did a couple of cool projects. We did like recommender systems. We actually built like sample wallets for an e-wallet company locally. So we did those kind of things. And then slowly I found that, teaching is fun, but it did not have the pace that I liked. I kind of preferred the pace in consultancy. So after about 4 years of teaching, I left the university and I joined CADS, where LALEH is now. We had good times there. So at the time that I joined, the company was doing a good mix of projects as well as training programs. So coming from the university was a smooth transition. Doing the projects, having already been consulting privately outside was also a smooth transition. But towards the end, I think I wanted a full-time project-based thing. I was thinking that if I want to teach, I can come back to teaching at a later stage. So at that time, my wife was in banking and we'd always talk about finance quite a bit. And when the opportunity came along to move into banking, I decided to take it. So I've been at CIMB, I think, for just over a year now, I think close to a year and a half. Um, what we do is mainly so I'm actually the first data scientist in the risk department. So banks are big. They've had data science team for ages and everything, and they've got like many different pockets of what they're doing data science for. But as part of the data science team and the risk department, I think it's working with what is a more traditional role. So normally when you're building like credit scoring models, those kind of things, they're highly regulated. So there is space for innovation, but at the same time, there's a lot of, I would say that there's a lot of change management that needs to be done. during that process. So I took on this role knowing that I wanted to build something from scratch. So we're talking about, you know, reconfiguring not only our infrastructure, but the way we work, as well as how we work and what we use to be able to provide people with better lending. Yeah, so that was basically it, the journey up to here. If you ask me, I think proudest moments would be a bit difficult to say. I've had a few good ones, few bad ones. Of course, the worst thing that can happen, you feel, is when, you know, like you come up with an awesome project, but the client doesn't like it or it doesn't sell. Taught me good lessons. I think I've learned more good lessons from failing than I have from being successful. Um, Successful projects, on the other hand, I'd have to say that I'm limited to what I can share, but there are a couple of projects that have turned out quite successful in terms of the uplift. So for me, it's always being tied back to some sort of revenue generation. And when you're working in banks, especially with models, single models usually net revenue in the excess of millions. But the question is, compared to what the old model used to do, what does that gap give you? And one thing I've noticed is that if you're able to consistently deliver, after a couple of times, the projects start coming to you. You don't have to hunt for it anymore.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Vinod.
Yeah.
That's a lot of information there. So you juggle between academic, you juggle between how to solve the problem in business side, how to actually improve the technology infrastructure as well. I think we'll have a lot more questions to you after this.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vinod. All right. So let's move on to the next section. So as the theme mentioned today, is going to be a fireside chat. So a little bit more casual. So I'll be throwing, maybe I'll do this. I will just come up with, I'll just go through the questions that is specific to a certain panelist in terms of the relevancy here. And then we'll move on into discussing about a few questions that is more general, and we can have some kind of like interaction between all of us into sharing our ideas. Does that sound good? All right, thanks. So, all right. Okay, I'll just follow the order we had just now. First question here, actually a few questions here to our panelists, Nas. So these are the questions that we have collected from other attendees during the registration. And some of the questions come up with our own organizers, actually. So the first question for you here is, what are the differences between data engineering and data science? And how was your transition into data engineering? How do you find it? And how do you compare between these two?
That's a very good question. There seems a lot to be quite a lot of confusion, especially if you are not in the field. So let me put it very simply. Data science, as how I would like to define it, is the arts and science of making data useful, right? Data engineering is the art and science of making that data ready to be used. So you can think of it as a spectrum, right? Like this is business value and this is just your like databases and engineering. So within the spectrum, data roles are scattered throughout here, right? So maybe towards the business side, you have the data science, data scientists and whatnot. So data engineers exist a bit further towards the infrastructure and the technical side. So common job roles that data engineers have to do is to move data from point A to point B, transform it from shape A to shape B. Sounds simple, but never underestimate how hard is it to move data from one place to another place. Transforming it and make sure that it works all the time, like the pipeline doesn't leak and whatnot. So yeah, I would say that's how the difference between data science and data engineering. My personal experience in transitioning it, personally for me, it wasn't that as tough because if you were to like look at my kind of like data skills profile, right, I'm a stronger engineer compared to my skills in like mathematics or stats. I'm a stronger like in software engineering. So some of these concepts are like something I already know. I just need to like put it in the context of data rather than application development. So that's how the transition was like for me. Definitely is not as sexy as data science, admittedly so. Like you're talking about data systems and uptimes and throughput, and like it's not as sexy as like showing like a cool chart. And like one chart that I always see that is gets people like wow is like that network graph charts. Like you do like some network graph with D3 and everyone's like wow. But in data engineering, like you don't really have that wow, you know. It's like, oh, look at this, like 200 gig process, and everyone's like, cool. So different people. I personally find data engineering very fascinating, especially if you go up to scale. But yeah, so that's my 2 cents on it. I hope that answers the question. Oh, I think you are muted, Jethro.
Yeah, I thought the shortcut key, like pressing a bar button, can actually help me to unmute. Yeah, definitely answer the question here. And yeah, basically you sum up pretty much of it, and it is very, very good answer. But I have the question here, but I think you already answered it a little bit. So the key question here is, which one you like more?
Which one I like more? Wow, this is like team data science or team data engineering. Personally for me, I do enjoy data engineering a bit more. I think it's closer to my heart, my engineer heart. Yeah, I don't really find I get excited more of like, you know, oh, how do I organize all of these like components in the system rather than, oh, like my error rates are going down. It's like wow, like so I find like that the former experience a bit more enticing to me. Yeah.
Definitely. Thank you for answering. All right, the next question here, I'll be directing this question to Ali. So this is a very interesting question. So you are actually mentoring and upscaling our workforce in Malaysia, am I right?
Yes.
So in your opinion, what are the challenges in doing so, like in specifically in mentoring and upscaling the workforce in Malaysia when people actually sending stuff to you and ask you to actually mentor them and then maybe build their analytics skill and whatnot? What are the challenges you face so far?
Yeah, okay. If we want to talk about challenges, I can say, you know, when we teach, for example, all of these statistical analysis, machine learning, Python, and everything, we teach concept by concept. It doesn't matter how many use cases, how many examples you use. Problem solving should be on the background of all of that to be able to connect the dots and solve the problem. So assume that you want to go from point A to point B. You know all the steps, but how you should put all of these steps to make a solution for this path, it is important. And it is something that we don't have time to teach. And to be honest with you, it is something that normally people learn it in high school or maybe in a bachelor. When they come to us, if they don't know problem solving at all, or they are weak in that one, it doesn't matter what we do. If they quickly don't jump on that one and solve that one, it is going to be a problem. However, if they go to a job environment with a good team, because everything that we do it as a team, because not all any of us is perfect in the whole data science life cycle. So if they have the chance to go to a good environment in a good team, they are going to learn it little by little. So they just need to be passionate, patient, and humble. And don't think that it's going to happen fast. It's not fast. And there is no point in a data science journey that you can sit back and say, okay, I'm perfect now. I know everything now. No, it never happens. So they need to just keep it open and be passionate. Hard work is the key. That's it.
All right, thank you so much. Yeah, the passion of learning. That is definitely a good one. And I have a follow-up question here. So you've been in United States, Iran, and Malaysia. How do you find the quality of the talents, or maybe the people you have trained with? How do you find the quality of such talents in Malaysia?
Actually, about the quality of talents in Malaysia, I can say I have seen many young, talented people. They are passionate, especially when I work with the fresh graduates. They are very curious, and I never get tired in their classes. They are very good in that one, and I love working with them. So I cannot say I see a big difference between the people that I have seen in different countries. I cannot say that. So yeah, I cannot say there is a big difference. That's it.
Got it, definitely. It's fine. Yep. And yeah, so we'll move on to our next panelist. So Eva, here's a very key question. It's been asked a lot throughout our registration actually. But I think you mentioned a little bit, you already described a little bit. So what is your advice in venturing into data science or related career without programming background?
Yeah, actually, this question popped into my mind back then because I personally did not have programming background when I ventured into data science, like zero background. But don't let that be a stopper. If you know that you are interested in data science, give it a go. Like Naz's picture again, take a leap of faith. Yeah. But also pulling a point from Lale's sharing just now, really hard work is the key. So I only got this far because of the support that I have received from the community, from my family and friends, my team, and of course, it needs to add on with your own hard work. So that's number one advice. The second is Google is your best friend. Anything you don't know, just Google it. The problems that you face in the beginning, probably someone has already faced it before, and there's a solution out there on Google. Like Stack Overflow has plenty of them. Yeah. So to pick up a skill, well, practice. Get your hands dirty. The best way to learn is by doing it. And sometimes it might be torturous in the beginning, but I can guarantee you that there's a satisfaction at the end of it. And when you look back on how far you've come and on what you've built, you'll feel proud. I can guarantee you that. And like any language, be it Japanese, French, Python, R, SQL, they're all just another language. And if you practice it enough, you'll be a master of it. And another advice I like to give in venturing into data science without programming background is sometimes there's a concept that people think that data science is all about writing fancy codes or building fancy models. But really, pulling the point from Naz, it's about using data and bringing value to it in any possible ways to solve problems, create value. Sometimes that might even mean using Excel. If it's a simple problem and you can achieve the same results faster using Excel, then why not, right? So all in all, don't be intimidated if you don't have programming background. It's not all about programming background. Your attitude comes into play, perseverance, creativity, and business acumen. Yeah, sometimes you're more equipped than you think. Have faith.
Yeah, that's very encouraging. Like sometimes we are more good than we think. I think that line is very, very nice. Actually, I follow up question there. So throughout your journey, so you mentioned about perseverance, right? So throughout your journey, what keeps you motivated? What kept you going on without giving up? Like what is so if you can actually like put it in one sentence, like what is the main reason why you keep going on?
Learning. I think maybe I'm a sadist. I like challenge. I always put too much on my plate. but it's the thrill of challenge in solving problem and creating value. And I find joy in doing that. Yeah. And that's why I persevere.
All right, thank you so much. Yeah, that's a very, very, very nice advice. Let's move on to Dr. Vinod here. So Dr. Vinod, you have a fantastic profile. So you went through different I would say you went through different industry. You went through even teaching. You went through even a current career right now. So we have a question from the attendees here. Somebody asked, especially to you. So, what is the importance of qualification or maybe academic background and research? And for someone who didn't have this qualification, how should we manage ourselves, and what should we think about it? Could you share a bit or two?
Okay. I know this is going to sound very hypocritical coming from someone with a PhD, but I think the academic background is not the most important thing to get into the field. Uh, I've actually worked with people who don't have a programming background, don't have a quantitative background. That means no stats, no maths, no econs, whatever, right? And they've turned out to be very good data scientists, mainly because they understood what the customer wanted. They were able to compartmentalize as well as break them down into bite-sized problems that they handled one by one. So the ability to decompose a complex problem into small ones and then deliver on those individually, I think that trumps everything else. If if you're able to synthesize a problem into something that you are able to understand and solve, that works. Um, Data science landscape as it stands today, there is a lot of emphasis on the coding side. I understand why. That's because of the engineering approach, right? Like if there's no ready tool available to do what you need to get done, then you build it. And personally, I've built tools over the span of my career, but I've always only POC'd them. That means that I prototype something which I need to get working, and I almost always pass it on to someone who's an expert in that field. So when it comes to, let's say, if it needs to be an app that has a mobile web interface, I'm going to pass it on to someone who does that for a living. I'm not going to do that myself. So it's important to understand that it's a team effort, in the sense that you may have an understanding end to end on how to solutionize something, but each element of that needs to be done by someone who has the vertical expertise. So I've always taken that approach to it. Now, in terms of the background, right? So what do you gain by having an advanced degree, let's say a postgraduate degree? So you talk about either you get a leg up in terms of the content. That means like if you're talking about maths, you do more in-depth mathematics, you specialize, right? Or in most cases, if you're doing a research degree, that means either a master's by research or a PhD, you're actually learning to perform structured research. And that's actually a skill which I think is very important that everyone should take away. Whether or not you actually do a postgraduate degree or if you learn it on the job, research skills are very important. So the easiest of research skills is, like Yvonne mentioned just now, you don't know something, Google it, right? That's your step one. But in the context of data science, it's always going to be, how do I get the data that I need? How do I catalog it? How do I curate it? What do I use to address the problem that I have? How do I document this? This is my Achilles heel. It was at my Achilles heel during my PhD. I remember my supervisor used to hound me for this because I took so long to write my thesis. But the fact is, organization matters, because in the scale of a project you're working on, you're always going to end up passing it on to somebody else. So if you're not organized, you forget where you left things, how you left off. Like I come back to code and I can't remember why I wrote it. That happens, still happens, unfortunately. I think a lot of the skills that you need, thankfully today you can pick up online. So you don't necessarily need to do a degree in it. But I would treat it as, if you're going to do a degree, how would that address what you want to do in general? So don't just talk about the data, right? There's a lot of data. Almost every field today is moving towards a data driven approach, and it's even down to things like copywriting, right? So my question is, how would you want to see yourself, in what kind of role would you want to see yourself, and how does data supplement or support you there? And then you take that approach to learning. I think Nazran mentioned earlier that the engineering approach, he's more on the engineering side. I can tell you that if you know some basic software engineering principles, it'll make your life a lot easier. For the math or stats side of it, most of the problems that you need to address, at least that I've seen locally, don't really need the kind of specialist mathematics that you get through a PhD. Um, at the end of the day, if you're able to deliver value with even simple analysis, that's good enough. And let's be fair, depending on what kind of field you work in, there's going to be a very vast gap of what level of complexity you're going to face. So fields like finance, insurance, telcos, especially telcos, where they deal with tons of data, and it's usually data at velocity. So you're going to have very complex systems there. You're going to have a hard time working with those things. They're probably going to be working with complex models as well. So having an advanced degree there might net you some bonus points, but a lot of the applications we see today, right? I've seen like there was a consultancy I did for this property company a while back, and their issue was they just had everything stored in Excel files across different offices, and they didn't even know, like for example, if I have this customer buying in this region, is that same customer also buying in another region? Because the regional offices were separate and they don't talk to each other. So that's not a problem that required complex maths to solve. All required was, like aggregating the data into one place and then doing simple joins and checking, like, okay, if I buy this, who buys that? Yeah. So I would say take it as I want to do this and I like data as part of it. And that will kind of tell you what kind of route you need to go down.
Fantastic. So if I may follow up with the question, so you mentioned about, so let's put aside the qualification for now, right? You mentioned about the vertical skill, you mentioned about management, you mentioned about documentation, you mentioned about something like how to actually communicate and stuff like that. But let's say right now, a person who just started venturing into data science or a junior data scientist came to you and then asked you, like, throughout your experience, what is the one and only advice you ask this person to actually improve upon to become a better data scientist?
Okay, I think in the context of that, I would probably go with keep an open mind, in the sense that I've seen cases where people have created good work and it's gone to waste because of an ego, right? Um, Especially when it comes to selling your project, like whatever you create, ultimately it's driven by the demand of the user. And if you think you know better about your user than your user does, you've got a problem. So I've seen cases of that, where people are very proud of the work they do, but there's too much focus on the effort they put into doing it rather than the outcome. That's a big problem. For junior analysts, I always say that pick your first boss really well, right? This one is very important. I think, especially for the case of, as a data science team today, if you're in a smaller company, one which has a lot of data needs, but a very small data science team, you're going to find yourself overwhelmed with requests for everything. So you come in thinking you're going to build this, build that, and you realize that, oh, every day I'm just fixing this, fixing that. It's always some problem that you have to fix, right? So for cases like that, having a good boss in the beginning is very important because they insulate you. You have someone to filter the requests and say like, okay, these requests are worth doing, these requests are not worth doing. And that kind of prioritization only comes with experience. So it's also good to have someone who has a balance of, I would say, a little bit of business know-how and a little bit of the technical side. If you have two bosses, one for each, that's even better. Like I was lucky to have met people on both ends of the coin, So I met people who knew the business side well, and I learned a lot from them. I met people who are very technical and been doing this for years, and I learned a lot from them as well.
Thank you so much for giving that, especially on the part you mentioned about the ego being a major factor here, like preventing one's growth in data science career. Thank you so much for sharing. So before I move on into the next session of like having a chit chat per se, I'm having a look at the Q&A box here. I'm not sure whether you guys can actually look at the Q&A box. So one of the questions is actually very highly voted right now. At the moment, it's having 8 votes. I wonder what books Dr. Vinod has at the back. Yeah, would you like to comment about it?
Okay, so I'm actually sitting in my parents' room in Seremban. So I've been here for the duration of the MCO, working from home. And that bookshelf you see at the back there, that's my dad's bookshelf. Most of it is filled with books on, like military strategy and warfare and whatnot. So he used to be in the army. Most of the books are on that. But both of my parents read, and I have one brother who reads a lot as well. There are tons of books in this house. We range from everything from non-fiction to fiction. I think there's another bookshelf on this side as well. I'm looking at Douglas Adams. Let's see who else. I don't know. I don't know half these authors. I don't read as much as they do.
Sure thing. Thank you, Dr. Vinod. So yeah, that's another question here. It's been more serious compared to the question just now. It's having 10 votes, 11 votes at the moment. I would like to direct this question to my colleague. Question is a bit long, so if I can summarize it, it would be, so nowadays, all the job requirements or the job adverts people put up there are asking a fresh graduate to have hands-on experience on many kind of skills. And maybe some of them is asking near 3 years experience for analysts and things like that, if when the supply flow. So some of us are self-taught or just graduate from centered modules, such as data style CAT. I'm sure you are familiar with that. And hey, this question is, how do we actually answer to this kind of demand from an employer? How can we manage that? Do you have a comment on that?
So are you asking from me?
Yeah, so Ms. Lee. Yes, this question is directed to you. I'm sorry about that.
So actually, I'm not sure about all the companies, but some companies just write a job description and they want something and someone write a job description for that. So in my opinion, don't afraid to go, if you are 80% match job description, or you are very passionate about that job description or the company or a manager that you want to work with, so you just go for that. Do the interviews. If be honest on your resume. If that job description matches your resume 80% and these 2 to 3 years of experience, you don't have it, but some kind of background you have and you have this skill, so just go to the interview, just apply for that, go to the interviews. To be honest with you, at some point in the United States, for a while, I had to apply for about 1,700 jobs. I did that. I really did that. And for about 100 of that, and it was not just the job. It was, as I'm saying, 80% match my resume. At the beginning, I was applying for the jobs that 100% match my resume so that I feel confident to go for interview. And my friend said, no, you shouldn't do that, because if you 100% match that job description, you are overqualified for that position. So 80% match, okay. And sometimes it is okay if you have something on your resume and you know that quickly in 2 to 3 months you can handle that. It is okay to put that on your resume. So go to many job interviews, and to be honest with you, at the beginning I was at each interview that I failed, I just really disappointed, because amazing company, you really want to go there, it is your dream job, and I really get disappointed. Maybe for a couple of weeks I couldn't apply for any job after that, but I get used to that. And to be honest with you, through all of those job interviews, I learned more than that master degree that I had, because I had to study all the interview questions on Glassdoor, as everyone said, many Google, so 100 interview questions, Amazon interview question, LinkedIn interview question, Glassdoor, those everything you have to study, and you have to study in the depth, because they ask more questions if you answer correctly and if they are nice and like you. So, other than that, just gonna skip. So if they like you, they keep asking questions and they go deep. So if you read something, just master that one up to some level that a couple of more questions about that one, you can answer that. So that's it. Just apply for the job. If they are a good match, if they feel that you are a person that they want to invest on you, because not everybody is ready exactly match the job description. So that's fine. Apply for jobs. And as I'm saying, if they don't like you, just say, okay, they have all the right to not liking me. It's okay. I'm gonna be a person that they like me. Believe in yourself. So try more and more and more, and then you will get it. Don't worry. And connection.
Thank you so much.
Important to just talk to people and make connections with people, make connection with recruiters, hiring managers. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I think your answer has become a very valuable advice in terms of, yeah, if I can put it this way, it became tips for getting a job in data science. Thank you so much. All right. Before we move on to the next session, I have one last question. And thank you so much, Eva, for answering the question in the Q&A. So I'll skip the question. And I think I have one last question. Maybe I'll direct this question to Nas. So Nas, so you mentioned that you did the different kind of things you have to be like software engineer, software engineering, web development, data analytics, and now data engineering. So if I ask the question, what programming language would you recommend and how do I start? Would you want to give a comment on it?
Yeah, sure. How do I answer this in a not so opinionated way? My personal view is that in data science, you only have two dominant languages, right? If you want to talk about programming languages, it's either R or Python, right? To be perfectly frank, just pick one. Pick one, be sort of good at it. And once you're good in like one language, learning the other language comes a bit easier. It's like, like if you can balance yourself on a bicycle, you can ride a motorbike. That sort of analogy. A bit more nuanced and deeper in that is that it depends on what sort of role are you looking at. I always find that Python is more of a very general purpose language. Like if you learn Python, you can do analysis, you can build APIs with Django, Fast API, you can go into deep learning with PyTorch. So it's a very flexible general workhorse language. But for R, if you would do analytics, right? R people, I have several people who like they would swear their life on R for analytics because of Studyverse, because of ggplot and all of these things. It's very intuitive for you to run analytics with R. Also, I was told because I'm not really an R programmer myself. You can actually talk more to Philip, one of the organizer of this event, and PyData. So, very big R person. So yeah, that's kind of like the two levels. Just pick one, learn one. The next one gets easier. But if you want a bit more nuance, Python is good for general purpose. If you want to do deep learning, then Python. If you are looking for like analytics, more statistical modeling analysis, then learn R. So yeah, that's how I would answer it. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So I think there are some very funny comments through our chat box here, like it's about a war between these two languages and whatsoever. But yeah, totally agree with you. Yeah, you won't lose anything by choosing either one of it. And for example, like our organizer here, Philip, yeah, he's actually master of both languages, right, Philip?
Oh yeah, I'm not part of the panel, so I'll just step out.
All right. So thank you all the panelists for going through with me for this ad hoc question. I'll save some of the questions to the end of the session. And thank you for the panelists who answer the questions in the Q&A box. If you have time to do so, please go for it to answer in the text box. Right. So the next question, I would like to put in a more casual way, right? So throughout your working experience, be it in data science, research, teaching, data engineering, analysis, whatnot, Did you ever have a disheartening moment? And how did you get back up from that situation? I see Yvonne is, like, maybe Yvonne has something to say first. Would you like to go for
it? Sure. Well, as mentioned just now, I work and study at the same time back then, and it's no easy feat, even for a sadist like me. So after I completed my study, I actually had a big burnout. That's why one of my answer, I say, please do take care of yourself, do lots of self-care, yoga, meditation, eat, do what you love, anything. Yeah, self-care is very, very important, no matter how busy you are. So at that time, I had a very very bad burnout. I technically have no motivation to get out of bed, to go to work, or what more of completing projects and tasks, right? But then it was a bit confusing also to add on to things. A few crucial members in the team left. And so we were a little lost, not sure which direction that we're headed to. But luckily, not too long after that, a month or two, a new manager came in. He's still with us. He's amazing. But I couldn't perform at my 100% at then. And because it's a new boss, you need to woo your boss, right? They're new. They need to know that you're capable and you're worth to be in the team, how much you can contribute and all. But I was beyond exhausted. I couldn't sleep at night, so I couldn't focus during the day. I didn't perform at my best, and I was worried that I am underperforming, which causes me to be unable to sleep at night. And it's a vicious cycle. You see, it's a loop. I couldn't sleep, I'm exhausted, cannot perform, and it goes downhill from there. But good thing is, how did I get back up? Funny thing is, I laid down and rest. All I needed was rest. Practice self-love and care. I meditated, I did yoga, run around, climb around, do what you love, find what feels good. And on the next project, I took a leap of faith and managed to do it. But nonetheless, I didn't do this alone myself. And I am forever thankful to my team members who check up on me and ask me, how are you? You don't seem too well. Are you all right? Let's go have dinner together. And then we talk, we chit chat, we enjoy each other's company. They comforted me and they got my back. Essentially, I know my team have my back. And I'm also very, very thankful that my manager know and understand what's going on with me. And he showed a lot of compassion and support and continuously gave me opportunities. And yeah, I want to do the quote with it goes. The quote goes around like, if you want to walk fast, walk alone. But if you want to walk far, walk together. So maybe if you see your team is not feeling too well, especially during NCO, right? Check up on them, have a chat with them, maybe have an online lunch or dinner. Yeah, do that. I think community support is very important. That's the point that I want to drive. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. So sorry to hear that. I think we are very, very glad to see you get back up and being so successful today. And yeah, go back to the same question. I think I would like to hear from Ms. Laleh. So through your experience, is there an event or a situation where you felt very disheartening? Ms. Laleh, you are still muted.
Actually, I believe yes, but yeah. Actually, sometimes this along with this data scientist title, there is a title of fake data scientist. And people used to call each other fake data scientists if they don't know jargon. It happens. It happens a lot, especially sometimes there is a war between data scientist, data engineer, and they call each other because of the jargon that they don't know. So sometimes it happens, and in spite all the efforts, all the things that you have done, it happens then so that someone calls you down. So it was because normally when you talk to people in the community, they just try to be understanding, try to just kind of support each other. But sometimes people fight with you, and you feel that this is just a shock. And yeah, sometimes it happened to me, and I felt a little bit kind of frustrated. But that's it. It's just if somebody called in the middle of the path, if someone called you that, you can just say, okay, what was the reason? If it is valid or not. If it is valid, I'm going to overcome that weakness as well. If it is not valid, just a personal opinion. That's it. But it happens. It happens a lot that you see people use some kind of big words, and when you go to the discussion with them, they don't know about that at all. And it is difficult when they have higher position. It is difficult to deal with this situation. It happens, but that's it. It's maybe some part of any community is like that.
Yeah, I think for your answer, I've learned that we definitely need to have a good EQ in surviving in this career. That's a challenge I personally have felt in the past. Thanks for sharing this. How about you, Dr. Vida? Like throughout the time, do you have maybe a situation where you felt very disappointed with, very disheartening?
If you ask me, I think the worst experience I had was so this was a project that we had worked on for I think close to 6 months. We were building basically a concept site. So the idea was that there was this company, it was an airline company that had a lifestyle portal as well. And what they wanted to do was to integrate the two together. So what they were looking for was a site that would be able to map flights that you take with destinations that you want to visit, plan itineraries for you and stuff like that. And we actually built a very nice system for them, or we prototyped a nice system for them in the sense that we built a microsite. So this was a joint venture with another company that specialized in UI UX design. So they built the front end, and then we built the back end. So the back end basically had a recommendation engine that would pull data from the merchant site, which was the airline. So let's say you have an itinerary, right? You want to go for Bali for 6 days. And based on your history on the lifestyle side, if I see you've been looking at water sports or stuff like that, we would build you an itinerary that would fit within those 6 days that you're traveling. And at the end, when we went for the product pitch, they liked it. I think we made it to the final round. And in the end, because of the limitations of the system that we had built in the back end, they actually offered us to, we want the front end, but we don't want the back end. And that basically means that everything that my company had been doing, which was the back end, was not wanted. And all they wanted was the front end, which the UI UX company built. And that was a very difficult decision for us. We sat down and we discussed it, and we said, you know what, if I was in your position, I'd throw you under the bus too, because it's either one of us gets the contract or neither of us gets the contract. So yeah, they got the offer to build the front end and we didn't get anything. But I think it taught us a valuable lesson in the sense that, when you package things, you got to package so that it works in a way where you can't have only one portion which appeals to the client and the other portion doesn't. So if you have that and they have the option of taking only what they want, they will. At the end of the day, I think that made it a little bit more difficult for us. But I still have the code for that. Hopefully someday someone wants to buy it, then yeah, maybe that'll work out.
All right. Yeah. So this is a bit sad, a bit like I feel frustrated with it as well. But you ended the whole answers with a very, very positive tone right then. You have the code still. Thanks for sharing this with us, Dr. Vina. How about you, Naz? Like, do you have a situation where you feel very disappointed and like very hurtful to you personally?
Very disappointed. Let me think what I can see on screen. There were times when, because like I said, like it's more of like a very, how to say, it's a leap of faith to me, right? A lot of things are very new. There are things that I don't fully understand, but you, like, people are looking at you to like, hey, like you are like among all of us, like you know the most, but even me, I'm not confident with whatever I need to do. So it's more like a self-disappointment. It's like in retrospect, in hindsight, you feel like you're like, I should have done that. I shouldn't have done that. But how to say, like, disappointment in your careers will always happen. And especially in data science, if you're in a very new team, the failure rate of data science projects is actually quite high. You can read like that Harvard Business Review like analysis on data projects, and they say like it's like some 60-70% of data projects in organization eventually fail. But that's okay. You try get something out of it, right? Like, you still have the codes, you still have the codes, you still learn something from it. This is why documentation is very important, like you still have the code, you still have the documentation. Let's say like 2 years after this, suddenly people say, hey, like, remember that thing that you did? We need that. If you don't have documentation, you'll be like, why am I doing this? So yeah, like, just keep on going. Like, if you fail, just keep on going. It sucks, honestly, but like life, it's up and down. But as long as your up and downs eventually goes upwards, you'll be fine. So yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, that's a fantastic advice. So yeah, always focus on the next thing, am I right? Yeah. So before we actually go to the next session, so what we are covered here. So the reason why I asked about this is many people will think of this career as a hype, and maybe I think of this career like they want to know more about this career. Then all around, all the articles you have read online, everything like that, they are mentioning about the good part of it, the sexy part of it. But it's very rare for people to actually know about the real experience of data scientists who is working on this from day to day. So thanks for sharing over this. So far we covered like how do we actually get into data science career. All of you shared your portion on what the journey looks like and what the challenges and what kind of work that you do in your introduction. So I think the last question before I go for the next session is maybe in a brief sentence, what is your favorite part of your career so far? Maybe we start from Naz first.
Yeah, sure. You hang on. I knew this question will come up. Give me a second. I wrote something down. Yeah. What I like about this profession, right, is this data profession, right? Honestly, sometimes it feels like a superpower, like people look at it and be like, oh yeah, it's just a series of tweets. Oh yeah, it's just an article. Oh yeah, it's just numbers. But somehow you can like, oh, I use these tools, I use this technique, and like suddenly I have like a very chunky charts, and it feels like a superpower sometimes. And I do appreciate that developments in this field happens way fast. Like, I still remember when maybe this is data science adjacent, but like GPT-2, right? When GPT-2 came out, that language model came out, I was like blown out of my mind because it can simulate like a whole Reddit, like subreddit, and it looks real. And then now we have GPT-3. When is GPT-4 coming up? And like things always develop, and even in the toolings that you use, right? Like maybe previously you used pandas. Now maybe there's other versions, right? There's all these tools that you can use. But essentially you're still going from like point A to point B, right? Like project start, project end. But the amount of tools that you can use, the amount of components that you can explore is just limitless. So it feels something like building Lego blocks, like playing with Legos and stuff like that. And as someone who's very curious and have like a relatively short attention span of these sort of things, I kind of like it now. That I can, hey, like for this project, maybe I want to do something a bit different. Maybe I want to explore another tool, and always improve on your workflow. So I find that very exciting. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm glad that you're expecting discussion. So back to Dr. Vinod, actually. So what is your favorite part of your career so far?
I think I like the fact that no two problems are alike. Like every project has been different from the last one. Some are minor differences, some are completely different. The tooling required may be completely different. The approach required, like the modeling approach required, is also completely different. So I like that the fact that it's not monotonous, you know. Whatever you do today might become something completely different than what you've done yesterday. It's a continuous challenge, and it's also very exciting because, you know, like if you're the kind of person who likes to learn on the job, this is ideal for you. There's a catch though. The catch is that theoretically you may not know everything that you need to get this done on a daily basis. So there's a lot of self-development that you need to go through as well. Finding the time to balance that plus having a social life plus delivering on the job is really tough. But if you're able to do it, I would say it's a very rewarding path to go.
Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, it's kind of resonating to quite a portion of us actually. Back to you, Ms. Lolly. So, like similar question, what are the favorite part of your career so far?
Actually, I believe being a data scientist and working in data science is like a wonderful world because it is challenging, and I'm a person that very soon I get bored of something. But it is, as Vino said, this is ongoing. It is continuous. Every day there is room for learn something. Many people from different backgrounds are joining this community. I have seen people as data scientists. They are doctors. They are from even from astronomy. I've seen data scientists. What you are doing here? So this community is very have people from different ranges, and you will have opportunity to work on any topic that suddenly you want in any area that suddenly it is interesting for you. You can take this tool with yourself. It is not something that is related to this and only this. You can apply it to many things, from healthcare, from social network analysis, from marketing, from anything. You can apply it and you can find something interesting in that one. I believe that's a kind of endless work for now, actually. And I enjoy it every day.
So if I can summarize it, so the favorite part of this career to you is about the variety, the excitement of it. Yes. And then you mentioned about community. So for people who don't know, one of the organizers for this event is actually PyData KL. We are set up actually for this purpose to try to connect people with different backgrounds, different ideas together. So I think Philip will be sending in the Discord link later on. So check out our chat box. And finally, back to you, Ms. Yvonne. So what is your favorite part of your career so far?
So favorite part actually aligns quite a lot with Dr. Vinod. You will always be solving different problems, and especially when data is one of the rare teams that touches almost all teams in the company, be it marketing, sales, operations, whatnot, right? And so in that sense, you dabble a lot in all sorts of different aspects, solve all sorts of different problems for everybody, and you learn a lot of things. And sometimes, like Dr. Vinod said, you may not be fully equipped to solve the problem you have at hand, but that's the learning curve. That's the fun of it, right? Life is about constant learning, and keep doing it, yeah. And you will see how your work will affect things in the company and bringing value and driving change. And I think that's one of my favorite parts. New challenge, new learning, driving change, yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah, about new stuff, about assignment. I think most of us are sharing the similar idea, right? It's about assignment. It's about the changes. It's about the potential of this career. Thank you so much for sharing this. So before I actually end the panelist session, I will just quickly go through the Q&A box again. So if you have a time, you can answer the question in text through the box. But I would like to highlight maybe a few questions before we end the session here. Just give me a few seconds. Right, maybe this question I would like to direct to Dr. Vinod if possible. So there's this question. Hold on. So somebody is asking, I'm a fresh graduate in data science and interested in banking field. So what are the recommended skill sets, online certifications, and pathways to venture into financial data science in Malaysia without the domain knowledge at the moment? Do I need advanced degree? And yeah, that's about it. Would you like to answer that?
Yeah, sure. So, okay, so banking in general is very wide field. There are a lot of different departments within a single bank. If you ask me, almost every department that we work with works with data in some way or another. It's just the way that banking has been set up over many years, and they've learned to be very data driven. Like my role there is, I see it as a citizen data scientist in the sense that I work on a specialized subset of topics that are within risk. And in your case, if you're coming from a specific field within finance, let's say, for example, you do a degree in actuarial science, right? And then you move into, for example, market risk, then that would be something which you can do, right? Talk about using a little bit of data science with market risk. So you'll be predicting forex movements, you'll be predicting derivative pricing, those kind of things. I don't see like any specific route that you can go to, in the sense that banks generally take staff with any basic degree. There's usually no like specialization unless it's for very niche roles, right? If you notice advertisements, they are generally going around like even my bank at the moment, if I'm not mistaken, we are still hiring actively for what we call 3D roles, which is digital data and design. So that means if you're doing stuff like UI UX design, you're a programmer, if you're working with data, we're currently looking for people doing that now. It's not my team directly, but it might be other teams within the bank, and they're doing different things ranging from customer targeting to like managing liquidity. You also have teams that are working on like taking care of like private banking clients, so on and so forth. That there's very wide field of what can be done. So if you ask me honestly, I think that what you should look at first is look at the banks that you're targeting to work at, go to their careers page, and see specifically what kind of roles that they have open. One thing to keep in mind is that banking also requires you to go to CPD, which is continuous professional development. So the second that you get enrolled in any bank, once you're confirmed, usually they'll sign you up for courses with the ASEAN Institute of Chartered Bankers or something like that, and you'll end up doing roles, or exams that are specialized. So, for example, I see in the Q&A someone has asked about FRM, which is Financial Risk Management, right? And if you're in the risk department, that would naturally be one of the professional papers that you have to take during your career at the bank. So at the end of the day, I would say that, think about it in the sense that the role of what is a data scientist today will evolve in the bank over time, up to the point where it's going to be a traditional role with a data science augmented capability. It's not so much going to be a pure data scientist role.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vinod, for answering the question. I think you touched a bit on the FRM. Would you mind to continue in answering the question as well, like the differences between risk data scientists and the GRP FRM type of risk managers?
Yeah, so FRM is basically financial risk manager. The folks that I work with on a daily basis are technically all FRMs anyway. The scope really depends on what you're doing within the risk department. So risk in general, you can talk about as market risk. There is asset liability management that manages, like how much the bank keeps in store when they loan out. You also have credit risk. That's where I do most of my work. So we're the team that builds the models that onboards customers, like predicts when customers are going to go default. Like if they go default, how much you're likely to lose. And then you also have people who are doing like forecasting. You're talking about people who are building stress test models for all sorts of scenarios. So like, most of the banks were already planning for what would happen in a situation like we have now, COVID, or what will happen if a flood hits a certain area. So you have people doing things like that. The range of what you do ultimately depends on which department you're placed in. Uh, Today, the role is a little bit special in the sense that because most of the FRMs are traditional FRMs, and the data science component only comes in when we're trying to interact with the new hardware or the new software that we have. So we want to build up on automation. We want to get people using machine learning models for anything which is not, anything which is allowed by the regulator. So don't forget, this is a highly regulated field. The regulator doesn't specify that you can't use ML models, but then again, it's a question of conservatism, right? Because at the end of the day, we are like the first line of defense for whether a bank goes under or not, in the sense that the models that we build, we need to be able to really predict whether or not a customer is going to go bust, yes or no. We also need to make sure that we are holding enough liquidity to be able to manage our day-to-day operations. So currently the data scientist role is more of an advisory one, in the sense that we have your traditional models or your traditional BAU, business as usual, that you want to do. We supplement that. So for example, if you need a special kind of model for a special kind of task, we can build that for you. But ideally, as we go along, we want to upskill everyone so they're able to do that on their own. So if we talk about the difference in skills and perspectives of job scope, right? Today, there is a focus on advanced risk modeling. That would be what separates the traditional FRM from your data scientists. But within the next couple of years, I think that gap is going to disappear. We can already see it from the type of, like for example, if anyone is interested in doing the Chartered Financial Analyst course, CFA, right? If you look at the content for the CFA course, they've started including R programming. I think it started last year, if I'm not mistaken, right? It's part of the syllabus now. So they're starting to recognize that being able to directly interact with the data from a more technical level is going to become a requirement moving forward.
Thank you so much for sharing, Dr. Mina. Dr. Mina, I think your video has off.
Yeah, I think good example of Murphy's Law in practice, right? You don't expect things to happen.
Okay. So, okay, I need to pass this back to our host, but before that, I would like to highlight a surprise guest I noticed in our attendees today. His name is Hussein Zotelpi. Hi, Hussein. Would you mind to introduce yourself in a brief sentence and introduce about your work in Malaya?
Hello everyone. My name is Hussein bin Zulkifli. Tonight I just want to watch my colleague Yvonne, actually, and then suddenly in the QA they asked me to explain the library Malaya. Malaya is a library. Yeah, hidup. Malaya is a library for NLP toolkit for Bahasa Malaysia. It's very focused towards the hyperlocal language, which is Bahasa Malaysia, or the mother language we call it the Estonian language, Indonesia, Brunei, and Malay. Malay been developed almost 3 years. I started when I worked for government last time, and right now the library becomes so huge. Your camera is off, by the way, is it? Malaya library is so big. I'm not sure I can speak everything in this 5 minutes, but basically library is the library can do text analysis, sentiment analysis, or subjectivity analysis, abstractive summarization. You give a news, you get a summary of the news. Abstractively means that how we done it in high school. We write ringkasan during high school, something like that, automatically. You can do translation bahasa to English, English to bahasa, local context, and so on.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So yeah, so actually our main one of our main drive here of PyData KL is we're trying to push and try to promote open source packages and projects, especially in local. So thank you so much for you to highlight your project here. Thank you so much, Hussein. All right, I need to pass this whole session back to our host, Yvonne. So Yvonne, you may take the mic now.
I am so resisting the urge to crack a joke. Which Yvonne? I can't hold myself.
Yeah, it's you, the Yvonne I'm talking about. Hi, Yvonne, are you muted?
Oh, sorry, I think I'm muted. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so hi everyone. I just want to thank everyone, to our guests, LALEH, Vinod, KHAIRUL, and also Yvonne, the other Yvonne, for taking the time to, share your journey with us. I'm sure I have learned really a lot through your experiences and your journey. Also like to give a quick shout out to our organizing team, which is like Jethro, Philip, Rachel, and Carmen behind the scene, organizing and answering all of our questions. Before we go, we would just really love a little bit favor. If you could just give us scan a QR code and provide feedback so we can further really improve on our programs and also events that we're going to be organizing for you guys. We'll also be sending out kind of our video recording via email. So don't worry, we will send that out, and also do, check out for your email, and also feel free to connect with the panelists. Their LinkedIn profile is on the chat below. So thank you to everyone for coming, and have a good night, and hope to see you guys soon. And remember to give us feedback as well.
So sorry, Yvonne. So all the links here in the chat box here will it disappear once we enter the session, or shall we just stay for about 1 minute for people to actually click on it?
Yeah, sure. Just feel free to scan the QR code. This chat room will still be open.
Thank you so much, Yvonne.
Everyone open the camera and then we can screenshot. If they want lah. So that's how to
Yeah, so I think the thing about this attendees, I don't think in the webinar session attendees have the authority to actually open the webcam. Sorry about that. All right, Yvonne, I think we are good. I saw a question, Dr. Vino. Yes, we do have a copy of all the questions that haven't answered. Maybe we can discuss about that later on.
Okay, sure.
Thank you so much.
maybe we can have another Google Meet link here. If everybody could just post again, I'll just take another photo because now I guess everybody's faces are a bit bigger now.
Wait, we are taking a photo here or in another
Yeah,
link?
let's see, I think. Might as well. Maybe here? Yeah, sure. Three,
Yeah, here.
1.
Wait.
Oh,
Wait,
okay.
wait, wait. Wait.
So I think Philip ratio, I think
For
you
the
need to open
ladies.
up camera.
Groom a
I'm
bit,
not
groom a
involved.
bit.
Sorry.
For the Facebook Live, is it? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we are on Facebook Live, right? Should we-
Oh, we are still in Facebook Live. Hello, people in Facebook.
It's Nas's dream.
Okay.
Oh my God, yeah.
3, 2, 1. Peace. Okay, we are done. Thank you so much.
Alright.
Thank you so much. Philip, maybe you can send me the Google Meet link here,
Cheers,
so we can
Philip.
actually jump
Yeah,
to it.
I'll just I feel computer illiterate right now. Sorry, everybody.
Okay. So I think we need to schedule another chat with you. I think we would like to highlight your project, and if you are willing to share in PyData session in the future. But the later the Google link, I would like to include the panelists that have been sharing today. So I will share with you the other day. Is that okay?
Oh, so are we going to the Google link right now?
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Have a nice day.
Okay, all right, see you then.
Hello.